Here we go. The big boss.
Hey, how we doing?
Very good, man. And you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Like the office.
We back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Nah, you good. You good. How is the quarantine so far? You enjoying?
It's not bad, mate. Yeah, lots of meetings with the boys, lots of group projects and stuff like that. But yeah, the family's all alright. I think me and the wife are going crazy in the house. So.
Oh, I believe so, man. You've been creative. You've been working out or no? It's just the boys.
Yeah.
You're giving the example.
Trying to do little ones in the morning before everyone kind of gets going. So that's the only time of the day you got.
No, that's perfect, man. Let's start from the beginning. Let's say that, introducing a bit more about yourself, about your pet in the US. I know you've been in a couple of different locations in the US. That helps you a lot to build your resume, and I want to introduce yourself a bit more to people watching this.
Yeah. So originally from London, England. Grew up in the academy system there. And then at the age of 18 came over to America on a soccer scholarship and went to a school called William Woods University, which is a small NAIA school in the middle of Missouri. Didn't really have no idea what it was about or where I was going. Just kind of made the decision, got on a plane and went for it. Had incredible 4-year experience there in Missouri. Met lots of good people. And then ended up after that going to do my graduate assistant at the University of Rio Grande in Ohio. And basically what that means is that you're an assistant coach, but you get your master's paid for. And so you obviously do your master's degree and then you're assisting the team at the same time as well. So did that for 2 years in Ohio, and then after that got the opportunity at Limestone College, which is a Division II team in South Carolina. Was very fortunate. I think it's quite difficult for international coaches, students to kind of get sponsored for their visas, obviously in America. So I was fortunate Limestone sponsored me for a working visa.
That's amazing.
And was there for 4 years, had 4 great years. Got the team, we went to the NCAA tournament in that last year. And then from there, that really kind of gave me the opportunity to go to Georgia State University, which is a Division I school in downtown Atlanta, Georgia. So I went from middle of nowhere in Missouri, middle of nowhere in Ohio, kind of middle of nowhere in South Carolina, and then ended up in this big city in Atlanta. So it was kind of cool because obviously being from Europe, you're obviously used to big cities, so it was kind of nice to get back to that. But same again, was in around some incredible people, some good coaches, great players, and then that kind of really set the opportunity after 4 years to have the opportunity to come to UCF in Orlando. So I've been here for 2.5 years, and I think when you're from Europe and stuff, I think when you come to America, I think you always have this idea. So for me to come to Florida was a dream come true.
No, that's amazing, man. Like, especially starting from these, you have the experience from as a player, and you move forward to as a coach. And the people sometimes back home, I'm from Portugal, you're from England, are not aware about the divisions, about the experience of the US, and the different experience that you have from different states. And as you can see, you have been all over the place, from small areas to a big city as Orlando. What's your best advice, for example, for the kids who are watching this right now at home and they're like undecided to move forward or no for this experience? What would be your best advice in picking schools, or for example, if they should move forward, give the next step? What would be your best advice for them?
I think the biggest thing is just, and I learned this later on in life, but it's just to be open-minded. I think when you're younger, you're a lot less open-minded, and you want this dream school, the dream location. But I think what's more important, if you just find the right fit, and you get your head down, you work hard, then good opportunities will come from that. And recruiting's a lot of time all about the timing. You might be the best striker in the world, but your dream school might not need a striker. So you may have to go somewhere else for a year or two for that opportunity to then arise. But yeah, I think just never turn down any opportunities, be open-minded about every single division, get to know the coaches really well, make sure that's a good fit, and like I said, then just work hard from there. You know, be really grateful for the person that gives you that opportunity. Work hard, and I think anything in life, you do that, and good things will come.
Oh, that's good. I'm picking that because I heard that you were a bowler at the Crystal Palace or something. And for example, you just mentioned the timing and how important it is to start earlier in the process. Was the timing like a big step for you? You were kind of undecided of being an academy kid, or like going to the US. For example, for kids back home in the academies, they might don't look to the US as the right fit for them, but in the end, it could be losing an opportunity for life. How do you expect that for the kids and the academies to change that mentality and that setup in their minds? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I was lucky because one of my coaches that I had experience in doing summer camps out in America, and Canada as well, and he spoke really highly of it, and he was kind of one of the guys that really kind of helped me get out here, and just kind of put it in my mind and put it as an option. And I think because I really respected him and kind of he was bringing it to the table, it was more intriguing for me. But yeah, I think that's the conception of a lot of European players when they come over here. They think the level is not going to be very good, and soon enough, we have players in our team right now that first day of training they're very surprised, like Newcastle, as when they come over here, and it's just football, right? I think everything works out for a reason. Everyone's on a different pathway, so I think just being open-minded to the opportunities, and I think you'll be fine. So.
And the timing specifically is very important, right? For the type of the process for the recruitment as a kid. When, for example, your advice also from your experience, when will be a good time for starting? Because some kids, especially with 19, 20 years old, they might already be too late for an experience like UCF, top 10 D1 schools. So when will be your advice to start thinking about this opportunity and move forward to go to the US, top Division 1 schools?
Yeah, I think it's different for domestic players in the US, and then obviously for international players. I think domestically in the US we tend to look 2 years ahead. So I think we're in the USA we can legally start talking to them. I think that's what get on coaches' radars. Start talking to them, start letting them know your schedules and tournaments, and then kind of get the exposure from there. From either seeing you live or on the internet 2 years ahead when you're in an academy, because you don't think that far ahead, and you're always waiting for that decision whether they're going to give you that pro contract or release you. So what I will say though, there's a lot of schools that really can understand that model, and kind of keeps those players that are kind of in that situation. But I think that just goes down to like you're talking about the timing. I think when you're looking at America, you've got to speak to coaches, see what positions they're looking for, and kind of find that out yourself, or for a company like yourselves, obviously to do that digging to find out what schools are looking for what positions, because then that will really kind of help you in the direction you want to go.
And let's stick now with the recruitment process. For example, being a D1 coach, you probably receive tons of emails every day from kids all over the world. How easy for you, or the opposite? How hard for you is to check every single email to see the players, for example, for highlight videos or a personal email from each different player? Can you see that? Can you see it all? Is difficulty? What do you think?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I'm not going to lie. It's really difficult, and it helps kind of having a bigger staff to be able to manage that. But I think especially when it's domestically in the US, you kind of have a really good idea of how the structure works with the academies, with the high schools, ECNL, with the different levels. So I think you obviously from the email you can get an understanding of what level they're playing at, but I think you can also be understanding that not every kid has the opportunity to get in a car and travel an hour away or 2 hours away to be involved in academy. So I think we have to take that into consideration, and then from there we do a lot of talking with the coaches. I think a lot of coaches have been in this business a long time, so they've sent players to different levels. So I think speaking with the coaches really helps you understand, their level, and if it's kind of comparison with your level. But that's probably kind of how we go about that.
So, for example, how do you value a trust? For example, if you trust more as a person, for example, if you have an opinion about a player, if you're looking for a player, how value is having someone that you trust telling you something about a player?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And I think especially when every team in the country plays differently, right? So I think the people that really know your program outside of your program are really kind of key, because when you obviously are, you ask people for different opinions on players, but they know your program really well. I think that then you're able to compare. I think it's obviously difficult when someone doesn't know how you play, what sort of players you have, to really kind of say, yeah, this player can play at your level. So I think it's important as us for coaches to kind of make those relationships with other coaches, with clubs, with academies, with high schools, and even invite people in to see what the level's like, and then you kind of all have an understanding, and then I think you can kind of get the recommendations on a higher level from there.
No, that's true, especially nowadays. Something happened that we can't run away from it, like with the coronavirus situation. In this process with the recruitment, did you feel any issues in terms of finding the right fit for your program? Do you feel was something like you might have more opportunities for athletes? Because nowadays you cannot travel that you will normally do to go, for example, to Portugal to watching live a soccer player playing, or to Brazil. So how do you adapt to this situation in the recruitment process?
Yeah. I think we're quite fortunate where we can go and travel and see players live in the past, and I think all the coaches on the staff, I think we all trust our eyes really well and have a good understanding of what we need. So I think now it's been a lot of kind of more in-depth 90 minutes watching these games, really reaching out to the coaches and getting a better understanding. But I think one thing that we've found in this process is just through like the Zoom calls or FaceTime with these recruits, like we're getting to know them on such a personal level, and building these relationships that we know these kids probably even more than we have before, and not that we kind of didn't. We always had the conversations on the phone, but I think just in this environment we're in, I think we've been able to get to know people a lot more better. So true. I feel like we have a better understanding of who the person is and what they bring to the table a little bit more.
So tell me a bit more, for example, with schedule nowadays with this situation. How is a daily schedule for a D1 soccer coach? You don't need to tell me about your workout at 6 a.m., but just like the work after that. How is it?
In this environment, in the corona time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we all get together as a staff, probably between 9 and 10, and kind of discuss what we need to do throughout the week, whether it's scheduling, recruiting, camps, budgeting, whatever it may be. And then we've been doing a lot of group projects recently, and individual meetings as well, just kind of end of year stuff. So I think what we did recently was we split the group, 3 coaches. We had 2 small groups of 4 to 5 people, and we basically started a group project. Because what we found out was that when everyone left, everyone's routine was all over the place. They kind of didn't know what to do. They were waking up at noon. They were going to bed at 2 a.m. And I think everyone just kind of lost that identity. So we kind of challenged the group to in small groups to create a routine, and not just create a routine, but kind of have an understanding of why you're doing that. Like if you're doing a certain type of physical running, why are you doing that? Like what player are you trying to be? If you're a right back, well, let's look at the pro world. What sort of runs are a right back making? What sort of accelerations? What sort of change of directions? So we're really going to try and be really specific in their physical work, and then other challenges like the academics, learning new languages, connecting with teammates. So we've kind of spent probably from 10 a.m. to 12 just connecting with our small groups, and it's been really good because they get to evaluate each other. So it's almost like instead of us talking, the group has been evaluating each other, so it's almost like peer review. So I think it's more powerful when your teammate tells you, I think that's good, or I think that's bad, I think you can do this.
Demands more.
So it's been quite powerful for us, to be fair. And then obviously the afternoons are following up. There's a lot of recruiting phone calls, conversations, a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of time spent sitting there watching 90-minute games of players. It just depends. Like the staff is quite split up in terms of their roles. So some guys might be doing a lot of the scheduling for 21. So they're talking to a lot of coaches on the phone in that time as well. So yeah, it's quite split up in terms of the roles and responsibilities.
Oh, that's good. Especially you mentioned preparation for different athletes, because especially for this age, people sometimes just lose the track of the soccer lifestyle. So sometimes like waking up at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. might happen sometimes. How do you get your players prepared for the fall season? Because normally you use the spring season to get a better fitness level, to improve their physicality or specific points in a team. And the summer, I would like to know a bit more about your process. How do you get a good preparation for the fall season? Not just in this situation with the virus, but also among the years you've been in UCF. What's the best advice from you as a coach?
I suppose this has probably been the first school I've been at where we've really utilised summer school. So all of our players have been coming in for Summer B, which starts around June 24th. And they're allowed to work out with our fitness coach during that time, our strength coach. So the players literally spend the whole month of July. They take 2 summer classes, and then they're working out with our strength coach. So really, when we get them, and they have a plan of specifically each position what they need to do, and the strength coach is there monitoring them. And then when we get them in pre-season, they're already fit, they're at a good standard, so I think we can concentrate more on the tactical element of how we want to play and how we want to teach that. Whereas before in the past, I've never experienced that. So the players come in August 10th, and we've got to do fitness, we've got to do tactical work, technical work, and it's a lot to fit in like a week and a half, 2 weeks of pre-season.
So if you as an international player, imagine if you're not able to come to the US early on, and you from, imagine if I'm from Portugal and I'm going to the fall for UCF.
Yeah.
Would you guys be like paying attention to me during the summer? You will send a fitness preparation. Will you guys have been following through the process during the summer, even if I'm in my own country? Okay.
Yeah. So the players will get a summer packet, and that will be designed for them to follow through the whole week basically, and that will be a strength plan, a fitness plan. Now we can't track that as the soccer coaches, but our strength coach can kind of track all that information and work with those players. But yeah, they'll get a specific plan, and I think as you're here longer, I think the strength coach can really then make it more specific to you as a person. Whereas obviously when you're a new player coming in and they've never met you, it's a little bit more general at the start. But I think once you're in the program and you know what your strengths and your weaknesses, like if you're a striker and you're more of a number 9 hold-up player and you want to get stronger, then he can kind of tailor those plans specifically for you and what you want to achieve. So
that's amazing. And it's how important for you guys. Of course, not all the players are the same. But going for the day 1 of preseason, some of them are a bit late in the process, in the fitness level. Some of the other ones are already a step forward comparing with the team. Of course, every coach will say, I want the player already moving forward in the fitness level. But how do you prepare that difference of balance in the team in the preseason?
Yeah, it's really difficult because, as you know, in pre-season, like the games come quick.
Yeah.
So there's no if you look at it from a sports science way, there's no real way to throw in extra sessions throughout pre-season or in the season for an individual to get fitter if he's not at that starting level, because the sports science will tell you if you're doing extras in a different session, then you're going to be more fatigued and you're not going to be ready for the next session. So what we've actually found is that if we find an individual that is at the fitness level, we'll actually tailor the team session, and we'll make individual specific requirements for him. So if we were doing just say for instance like a pattern towards goal and our right winger came in unfit, then maybe we'd do a pattern towards goal and he would do a recovery run that's over 30-40 yards, whatever it may be, or a different type of. So we would really look at the individual and add that individuality within the session rather than add an extra whole session which is going to possibly put him at risk of injury or hurt him more.
No, that's amazing. And I myself, I've been around, I knew it, how you guys work, but you just proved me in this call that you focus on a very professional way of working. And especially back home, people might not be aware of the professionalism and the level in college soccer and college sports in general. But how do you, this is a tricky question though, but how do you compare, for example, a D1 or a college level soccer from a level from back home between 18 to 22 years old? Can you compare that? It's not possible. It's completely different. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I would. I can obviously I've seen a few European countries and I've seen the level, and obviously being from England, I would very much compare it to the U23 league, so like the reserve league, with a little hint of kind of that lower league, non-league, because you do get a few older players as well. So I think it's kind of in between the two. What I will say is though that it's probably similar in level, but a completely different environment. I think in our world, we are the top team. There's no first team above us. There's no youth team below us. So all our efforts go on that team and bringing that team together as a group. Whereas I think obviously, when you're in those environments in Europe, you've got the first team above you, and there's a little bit more individual focus.
Now, how about the facilities though? You just mentioned that, because you've been in NIA, you've been in other leagues, but for example, talking about UCF, how you compare those facilities to a team back home? Because it's complete. I've witnessed myself. I know how it is, but I want for you to tell the people watching this.
Yeah, to be honest, it's like a theme park. I've never seen anything like it before. There's not much. I think it would be a top pro level back home that would compare to the facilities we have, and just everything for athletes. I think in America there's so much money that go into sports, between the training pitch, the game pitch, the stadium, the weight room. We have a specific athlete nutrition centre. The sports science area as well is just there's a lot of money that goes into it, and I think the college sports it is very professional.
Tell me about the new canal for recovery that you told me.
Yeah, so we have a new it's called the Recovery Cove, and it looks like one of those lazy rivers if you can picture it, and it's for the student the athletes only. So it'll be used for them on recovery day, and there'll be hot tubs, cold tubs in there as well. So it's going to be great for the athletes. Like I say, it's like a theme park. But we're looking forward to it. It's going to be ready in August. So
okay. You mentioned me like the Atletico Madrid, if I'm not wrong. They did a pre-season when they traveled to the US. They did a pre-season at UCF, right?
Yeah.
How do you have those type of environments in your school? I remember when I visit the school, you mentioned also Rangers and Fluminense from Brazil, right? All those professional teams around your campus. How good is that for your players? and for your program to try to set some professional goals for the future?
Oh, it's great because they can see him train right there and then. I think we're quite lucky in Florida because we have the Florida Cup every January, which is for professional teams that are either in a winter break or a pre-season, wherever their league is. So we get a lot of the Brazilian teams coming over, the MLS teams come here and do their pre-season in Florida, and then Atletico were coming over to play in the MLS All-Star game. So yeah, we were lucky we were able to watch their training sessions. We saw Simeone at work, which was incredible for us coaches, and then the players could see him, and they were meeting him afterwards and kind of taking photos and stuff like that. So I think it's that inspiration and it's that carrot dangling over you. I think when you're a young boy, all you want to do is be a professional. So I think, just having them see that and have them train in the same pitch that they're training on, the same pitch that they're playing on, like, it gives them a lot of motivation. But it also talks to the kind of the facilities that we have here, and our grounds crew do an incredible job.
Well, it's not just focus on the facilities for sports, but also for school. I remember you guys have a specific building just for student athletes that you get tutors and professors helping the main athletes on campus to improve their grades. For example, you as a coach and a college coach, how important is for you to have the right balance between a good player and a good student? When you have the recruitment process, how do you look to those type of topics, if he's a good student or a good player?
Yeah, I think it's really important to find that balance, because I think if you have to worry about a player 24/7, not going to class, struggling in class, then it kind of puts a lot more on your plate, and I think it's a struggle for them as well. So I think if you can find a player that is responsible, can handle that balance of academics and sports, I think that's a huge asset. On the other side, we also understand it as well that not everyone are great in their academics, and they need a little help. And I think that's the incredible thing about UCF, that we have that building that is purely for those athletes that we know, even if we bring in a player that isn't quite as strong in the academics, we feel so confident that we have the resources to help them, that it isn't a worry anymore. So it's a huge relief, to be honest, but they do a great job over there.
But for you, for example, for the recruitment specifically, in Europe especially, all the high level players, sometimes they're not too focused in school, and it's something that some different academies in specific countries are trying to improve. How important, as you as a college coach and also as a former athlete, how important it is for you to start studying, getting decent or good grades as early as possible? Because not everyone is focused on college,
No, I agree. I think it comes back to really our philosophy, which is kind of in academics, it's in soccer, it's in being a human being. Is we talk about a lot. Our kind of overall philosophy is the commitment to the pursuit of excellence, and that's in everything we do. So when our players come in, like, even if they're not great at the start academics, like, we want them to be great at everything. So when they leave university, they're looking to pursue that excellence in everything they do, not just in one area of their life. So for us, it is really important in the recruiting process, and it kind of definitely gives you a leg up on some others. But also at the same time, we're not scared to bring that player in who isn't as quite strong in that area, because we know that the effect we can have on them and the resources that we can kind of provide that for them, but also kind of motivate them to want to pursue that and get better in that area. So I think it's bringing a player in that is open-minded to want to get better in those areas. Just having that mindset, obviously, in that recruiting process, is huge for us.
So you're not just focused on the soccer ability and also the student ability. Of course, everyone tries to have the full package, but you also, as a coach, looking more than that, like the character and the goals that they set for college, right? Something that you think is special. Okay. Now that's good.
Absolutely.
And about soccer again, soccer in the US is growing a lot every year. Every year, you know that. What is like would be your message, for example, if you have a kid that is not completely decided if the US, even if it's just for soccer, it might be the best fit for him. You've been in the US in different locations, different leagues. Like you said, you've been around professional teams even from Europe. What is your advice for kids back home that believe US is still not in the same level as other, for example, in Europe,
Yeah. No, I think you have to get on a plane and you have to come and have a look for yourself, and you have to see it, because I think once and a lot of some schools you kind of be able to do those official visits and stuff like that, and some players will come out in the summer and take part in summer camps, and I think you've got to see it for yourself, because we find it the same. We're talking to recruits all the time, and we know ourselves how incredible the environments are over here, but they still don't know, even though you know what it is. So I think seeing it for yourself is huge. Once you get off that plane and you step foot on any of these campuses, you're going to be blown away, and I think you just watching a training session or being involved in a game, you'll see the level is very high, and you'll be very shocked. So I think if you have, obviously financials are difficult, but if you have the ability to get out here and come visit schools, be involved in like a summer camp, then absolutely, because I think seeing it for yourself will change your kind of mindset.
Oh, that's completely true. And for example, we have some players that they have this question, and I've been in NIA before, I've been in different leagues when we met each other. But what would be like your best, also the best advice, the best tip, if you have an NIA player that wants to go to D1, or a D2 player that wants to go to D1, as a coach that have been through all those levels and the process, what do you tell him to focus on? What would be your main tip for those players?
Yeah, I think this goes back to the beginning. I think you can't look at we tell our players this all the time, you can't look at the end goal. I think you have to look at the process goals. So I think it's just every day working hard. If you have an opportunity to play in the summer as well to get more exposure, take that opportunity, grab it with both hands and try and get as much exposure as you can. I think when you're playing other teams, when you finish the game, go and shake the coach's hand on the opposite team. Be known around your conference, around your league, around your division, as not only is he a top player, he's an incredible, respectful human being. Same again when you play in summer league, get to know the players on your team, get to know different coaches. Don't wait to the end of your 4 years to create a highlight video as you go in your first year.
True.
Keep up with your video, because if you wait, you're going to have all this video and it's going to be overwhelming. So I think kind of keep on top of your video, and
that's a good point. How important is a highlight video for coaches to watch kids? How important is the highlight video? Because back home, you probably know too, kids are not very focused on that. They only focus on the game itself. But how important is for a coach in college soccer to have an highlight video from a player?
Yeah, it's huge, because I think that's the piece that kind of sparks the interest in you as a player. Yeah, and I think once you get that spark of interest, then you want to dive deeper and watch 90 minutes or speak to the coaches or whatever it may be. But I think what's even more important, and we just kind of found this out with one of our players doing a highlight video for the next level, is find out what sort of player you are and highlight those characteristics in the video. Like, don't just do in possession and out of possession. Like if you're a centre midfielder that's really good at getting on the half turn and breaking the line on the dribble, or you're really good with your penetrating passes, like highlight those in the videos and make different sections within the videos. Like if you're a winger, your 1v1 moments, recovery runs, defensive. Like really find out who you are as a player and kind of be specific in the video. Don't just do possession. I think there's a lot more to a player than that. Probably a couple of months ago, we watched a highlight video of a lad from right his from Liverpool to and in his video he's receiving skills. So as an outside back straight away, or was on the opposite side of the field position, and him as a player, I think that's really important when you're making a video.
No, but for example, as a coach, you told me about the specific position. But even if you want to, of course, see a full game and the mistakes and the reality, the real game, what will be the best advice for the specific and the best highlight video? Because of course, if you are a striker, you want the goals and the best movements. If you are a midfielder, you want the long range or the recovers or the creativity, and the defender the aerial duels or the tackles. But you in the highlight video only put the best things, right? So what as a coach, how do you look at the highlight video? Is it, like you say, is a very good setup, right?
Yeah, I think we all say as coaches, we've never ever received a bad highlight.
Exactly.
Like every highlight video is a good video, but I think it just goes back to the thing, like you need to have the good moments to be able to spark the interest for the coach, and then he's going to go and watch the 90 minutes. But I think you can definitely tell as you do this a long time now, like what's a good highlight video, what's a very good highlight video. You can straight away tell what the level's like just by looking at the players around. Like sometimes I'll just watch the other players around in the video to tell me what the level's like, the age of the level as well. I think little details like that on top of the player characteristics lets you know if it's a good highlight video or a very good highlight video against a good level.
And just like the last question about recruitment, how important are the statistics? Because like we know, soccer is not just about statistics. You know that.
Yeah.
But for example, it's also important, especially in the US, if you're a striker, to score as much as possible, or make more assists as possible. But how is that stigma about the statistics in the US comparing, for example, statistics back in Europe? How do you make that different?
Yeah, I think when you look at players in Europe, I don't think you really look at statistics.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of sports science data you can look at in terms of the physical component, but I think it's looked at much more here in America. And we even find our players, at the start of the season, setting themselves goals based on these statistics, and we kind of try and get away from that as much as possible and look at the process goals rather than the end-term goal. But it can be very dangerous for a player. Really dangerous. But no, we're not heavily on the stats. Obviously, I think the striker's very different to a lot of the other positions. Like, you want your striker to be scoring.
Of course.
So I think we're not, unrealistic to think that stats don't matter for a striker. But I think we're quite an open-minded group of coaches to understand, okay, what's the style of play of the team? Because you look at, I was just reading something on Giroud for France in the World Cup. He didn't have one shot on goal in 546 minutes or something, but he was incredible for Mbappe and Griezmann, and was great for them in their counter-attack. So I think we have to look at what the style of play of the team is as well, and see if that matches up with the player.
That's true. I completely agree with that. And he didn't score a goal also in the World Cup. No, but that's true.
Didn't have a shot on target.
That's crazy. Now, but going more now about, for example, the level and the balance between a good student and a good athlete. We saw NCAA, for example, changing a bit the rules this year due to the coronavirus, and they waived the SAT for this fall in August 2020. How big of a difference and a big advantage for some players that are still improving their English level could be this fall 2020?
Oh, it's huge. It's we kind of described it as Pandora's box. So I think it's going to give a few players that weren't probably going to be Division 1 eligible a great opportunity to now have a possibility at Division 1 or Division 2 school or whatever it may be. So yes, I think it's great from the NCAA be able to, in a moment like this, kind of take off some of the restraints. And I think hopefully the players that can use it are successful from it. So we've certainly in recruiting, as soon as that message came out, then we kind of had to go back and look at our list of recruits that possibly didn't meet those criteria and stuff. So it definitely, the landscape of recruiting has been non-stop changing, probably here for the last 2-3 weeks, with players that are in the country, out of the country, have visas, don't have visas, and then kind of just staying, paying attention to what the US government's doing. So we're kind of, the landscape's always changing.
Also, like, for example, for not just for 2020, thinking more ahead, you think any, like, with the virus again, 2021 or 2022 season will be affected? You think it will be everything normal for the soccer season in the fall? What do you think about as a coach, and what you guys are thinking for the future?
Yeah, who knows about
that?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's but I think what all the conferences and all the head coaches are doing right now, I think they're coming up with 3 to 4 possible scenarios in order to make the season happen. So I think everyone's working really hard to make sure we have a season. I think we're all just kind of, we're not sure what capacity that will be in, whether it will be, start a little bit later and be delayed, whether they'll split the season between the fall and the spring. So I think there's loads of scenarios that everyone's talking about right now, and I think everyone's just kind of waiting to see how it settles down. But I think, everyone's working really hard for it to happen, so I think we're all quite positive, and the players are positive that, we'll have a season here soon.
That's true. And also, like, just to not to finish, of course, but to have like one of the last questions. You've been, like you said again, you've been in different places, completely different cultures in the US. And sometimes people, you have D1, of course, great facilities, but we cannot also forget about D2, NIA, or junior college. They are a main role in the very important opportunities in the US for those schools. Forget a bit more about soccer right now, but if you have like an opinion about the experience on coming to the US, not just about sports, but in terms of grown and personally experience, what do you say to those players who are thinking on moving to the US? Not just about sports, but in personal growth, for example.
Yeah, don't think twice. It's an incredible opportunity. I think you meet people from all over the world. Like my team in the middle of Missouri, we had 2 Spanish players, an Argentinian and Venezuelan, Germans, kind of just all over the place. And I think half of them players were, I think one of the lads from Argentina ended up coming to my wedding last year.
That's amazing.
So it's like you keep friends forever, and I think a lot of time you get to see a lot of different parts of America as well. It's such a big country. Spring breaks in the summer, you're traveling to different cities. You're seeing a lot more than what you're expecting. And then just meeting people with different views on life just kind of really opens your mind to being open-minded. So I think when you're always in one place for the whole of your life, you kind of sometimes you can live a little bit in your bubble. I think it's nice to kind of get out of that and really be uncomfortable. It's tough to go and move halfway across the world, but I think it makes you, an incredible person. It kind of makes you stronger. You go through lots of moments of adversity. You kind of, you miss the family as well, but then you really cherish the moments when you go back for Christmas and you get off the plane and you see them there. So, yeah, it's unbelievable highs.
I hope a lot of parents are watching this right now, not just the kids. That would be definitely important. But yeah, Coach, like I said, it was my pleasure for sure to have you in this call. It was an amazing help from you also to try to explain a bit about D1 schools opportunities, but not just focus on that, on the experience. The last question, and again, and I always ask an advice. In those times that the kids are at home, what will be your best advice for them to be ready for the fall 2020?
Yeah, I think I said it to one of our players the other day, that times like this must be really easy for you because you're so intrinsically motivated. Like you have motivation to get up every morning, to do your workouts, to do your academics. I think the biggest advice is to create a routine. It's simple. There's no Premier League player in the world right now getting up at noon and going to bed at 2 a.m. It's just not happening. If you want to be, if you want to get somewhere in life and you want to achieve something, I think you've got to have a little bit of discipline. You've got to have motivation, and I think that's got to come from within inside. So I think creating a routine for yourself every day, and it doesn't have to be so robotic. But I think just having a plan of what you want to do each week and an achievement, so I think can be powerful.
Okay, boss, that was amazing help for you guys here, Coach Jamie Davies from a top 10 Division 1 soccer program. Again, from the team ASM, we appreciate your time to talk with us about this opportunity. And we keep in touch. We'll talk soon, okay, Coach? I will text you soon. No, sounds good.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank
Be
you very
safe
much.
out
Take
there.
care.
Enjoy, boss.
Yeah, and you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.